Uganda, once by Winston Churchill called the Pearl of Africa, is still famous for its fascinating wildlife and conducive climate. It is blessed by nature with a variety of spectacular landscapes and a diverse plant life. After the turmoil of the 70s and early 80s has been overcome, now Uganda is on its way of consolidation and is preparing to become the Pearl of Africa again. In the city center of the capital, Kampala, brisk business life is to observe. Nevertheless, Uganda still faces elementary problems, and on its way it has to experience various setbacks. One lasting problem is the inadequate educational system. Uganda also followed, as many African countries, the trend to provide free primary school education for its population. But what happens to the millions of children after completing the primary school? With the aim to improve this major lack, in 1998, the Uganda Organization of Private Vocational Training Institutes was founded, UGAPRIVI. Since 2002, DED and UGAPRIVI work together for the development of the association.
UGAPRIVI was born as a Ugandan initiative. The purpose was to unite private vocational training institutions, to reform them and improve them. Therefore, one has to understand the current situation of vocational training system in Uganda.
Government-owned institutions represent only 10% of the entire training offer in Uganda. 45% are training options in the industrial sector. That means students don't receive any comprehensive training of theoretical lessons, which reduces their job opportunities and mobility. The remaining 45% are private institutions established by private initiatives.
The big need of an organization that unites and represents the private training institutions was realized. So, UGAPRIVI was formed, and in the year 2000, we approached DED to assist with developing the association.
DED is a personal secondment service. So DED is sending development workers to projects which are already in place. We do not have our own projects. Therefore, the development worker have always a counterpart to work with.
UGAPRIVI is a countrywide organization. It covers Uganda in 8 regions, whereby 200 private institutions are already registered members. The counterpart of a development worker is the regional representative, and in Hoima, Kabale and Kampala, they are already assigned.
We found that we have 4 major challenges in the private vocational training institutions. On one hand, it's that there is lack of skilled teacher or instructor personnel. So UGAPRIVI started already to develop trainings to train those teachers and instructors in pedagogical terms, in management terms, whatever. For this we carried out a training needs assessment all over the country, whereby we found out that nearly 50%, for example, nearly 50% of the instructors do not have pedagogical background.
Most private vocational training institutions do not offer training according to the demand of the industry. So you will find that the industry demands another occupation than trained. Here, UGAPRIVI will install a very close link to the industry, in particular in the provisions of internship.
The next challenge is that the private vocational institutions are under-equipped. They don't have the right machinery, they don't have tools, they don't have even books sometimes. You will find institutions whereby somebody is learning for 3 years auto mechanic, and there is not even an old car there. So they are taught on the blackboard for 3 years. What UGAPRIVI is doing here is we are connecting private vocational institutions to donors, that they can get some equipment or even funds for books or teaching materials.
Another challenge is that the uniform curricula are not in use. Every vocational training institute teaches according to the knowledge of the instructor. So we are establishing a link to the government to have also a say in curricular development. We try to overcome the situation students are repeatedly facing. It is that examinations set by the government are difficult to pass because of the missing standards at the level of the institutions.
To get an idea of the problematic situation these institutes are facing, we visit several of them in different regions of the country. Our journey leads us first to the beautiful southwest of Uganda. We start with the SCC Institute in Kabale.
The basic necessities definitely equipment, like computers, like typewriters, like textbooks, which can help us train the students. And of recent, last week in fact, we got a donation of 18 computers from the Federal Republic of Germany through KfW. We wouldn't have thought of having computers of this nature from our own investments.
So this is how the printout will be. And I'm saying you click close to come out. Close is just there. So I can say that it closes the current document without exiting the application Microsoft Word, the program Microsoft Word.
When UGAPRIVI was formed, now all the institutions started speaking with one voice, and the government is actually listening to our demands. And this is the big achievement UGAPRIVI is doing. Like very soon, because we've been taxed revenue authority people, now we are also coming to that they should not tax private institutions because we are giving services. And with that one voice, UGAPRIVI will come there and these people will have to listen to us.
Our second stop is the AIC Ministry Vocation Training Center, Kabale.
In this region, I'm responsible as the chairman of the Southwestern and a representative at the national executive level. So we have an association and we have over 100 private vocational training schools in this region who come within this association.
In his school, a variety of vocational training is offered. Apart from carpentry, agriculture and bricklaying, students have also the possibility of receiving practical and theoretical lessons in tailoring and auto mechanics.
This one will be dividing that drive from 90 degrees. Taking this way and taking. Misalignment of gears. If you misalign gears, because I have said on the part of the pinion, it has got gears, meshing with the gears of this clone wheel. And if they are not aligned, if they are not in order, poor assembling, that leads noise.
We don't receive money or equipment, but we receive knowledge. It's capacity building. we mobilize people, we train them, we equip them so that they can begin to think and plan strategically. So this is one of the most important areas that we don't give out in terms of material resource, but mental, intellectual resource capacity, which is part of the capacity building. We have established a regional office at the Gezi Twimuche building in Kabale near the main post office. And we have one German development worker who is seconded to us as a regional association and a part of the national network, Mr. Franz Etiges. So he's here with us to boost, to advise, and to coordinate the efforts of the private vocational training institutions.
West of Kabale, at the feet of the volcanoes which mark the Rwandan border, the fascinating landscape of Rubanda County West begins. We meet the DED development worker, Franz Etiges, who is on his way to Kato. Noka is passing on our tour so that we rather get the impression that time stopped. But when we reach the Vocational Training Institute in Kato, we realize how people in this corner do struggle for vocational training. Out of the sole initiative of parents who want to achieve a better future for their children, a new school building is in the process of construction. Since those parents are farmers with very limited financial resources, they only can contribute in forms of labor and basic material.
This area is trapped in the north by Lake Bunyoni, in the south by the Rwandan border, and to the east and to the west it takes 2 hours each to reach the next road. And in those 3 sub-counties there was no technical education at all. So they had to send their kids to the tea estates in the north where they picked up horrible flus and some of them even died. And now we do establish technical education, the first of its kind, south of the lake in Kato.
Although a lot has been achieved regarding the fact that this institute started from nothing, the gaps regarding building and toolkits are obvious.
UGAPRIVI as an association wants to show up that there are resources within the schools, in the community of schools, so that not each and everybody has to fight his own fight, hunting somewhere for funds. They can help each other. Like, there's one school, they were given electrical sewing machines, but unfortunately they have no electricity. Another school in town, which I know, they have the manual ones, but want to have the electrical ones, because in the environment of the city it makes sense. So they can exchange. They can help each other to each other's benefit, without any costs, without any assistance from outside.
Our journey leads us to the north, the crisis-ridden part of Uganda. The continuing war of the LRA rebels against the Ugandan government has now lasted 18 years and changed the life of the people profoundly. In this war, abducted children are forced to serve as soldiers. Fearing the nightly brutal infringement of the rebels, where children get kidnapped and people killed, Every night, hundreds of children wend their way to the protecting cities. So is the case in Gulu. All around the cities, extensive camps of internally displaced persons mark the image. But most people express the wish for normality. The wish for education and vocational training is strongly related to that. Therefore, even in camps, vocational training institutes are temporarily established to train the youth even in stages of emergency. Training institutes forced to resettle have their lessons in improvised wooden shelters, as for the example here in the Brother Conrad Institute.
The common problems are, one, we find that the students, having been affected by war, they are not able to meet the costs, and most of them fall off. Another problem is that we are not able to supply the necessary machines and tools, and this one hampers the practical training for our students. Another one is that the war has heavily affected us. The income from the parents that would give the support have been dwindled, and therefore they are not able to support us in as much as we would expect them to be if they were comfortable with their financial resources.
Lira is a city with a booming business life and a growing number of people indulging in the economic sector. We visit the market where plenty of the vocational trained students are at work on a self-employed basis. Many of them are former child soldiers whose reintegration into normal life constitutes a particular challenge for UGAPRIVI. Those carpenters are trained at Ave Maria School of Mr. Otim, the regional representative of the North.
The children are displaced. The children have no parents. The children have no guidance. Most of them are not at school. And a number of children were abducted and they went to the bush to be used as soldiers. Some lost their lives, and those who came back now want assistance in terms of training, in terms of medical or health services, and in terms of settlement, to make UGAPRIVI be a body or run properly, to have this institution run properly. There's need for peace and tranquility in the region. So I'm one of the members of the panel that uses Radio Wa. Radio Wa is a church-owned radio, local radio. So in this radio, we use this radio to appeal to the rebels to come back home.
Yen ema anatiga loke tebendo ngeye kache lokom amnesty bi mede onyope meno mirongoma ananiang uye undano weng makubedi uti lum. In studio ameni na tiri ne radio amini da kelbotu nying jo moga me wano tieke gikan
yen kumayo mer du palo yin la pa cho ba legi te winyo la kan du palo yen dong chan moti dane lum Papa go to China before. One and bed don't get here no more. I'm boy. You don't team a ride, mother, mere duke and paddle. Yen any no pelare. Yen cha wang no way, cha wang way.
Mr. Otim addresses his speech directly to Konyi, the leader of the rebels.
School do you know what you Kwanga Kare? And you want to know Balani? Want to take engineers, or take doctors, or take your Polo Poye, or take your new ministers, new MPs, and Dimaja. Conwatelo yo. Many,
so many are coming back. So many after our appeal, so many are coming back home. And so many commanders, some of them come with all their people they are leading. So they come in big numbers. And when they come home, they are taken to the rehabilitation center.
In the rehabilitation center, managed by the former Belgian journalist Els de Temmerman, everybody is received who came either voluntarily or was arrested by the Ugandan army. Mostly they are children. The women among them were abused as sex slaves of the rebels' leaders and either come back pregnant or with one or more children out of the bush. With different methods, social workers try to help the children to overcome their trauma. An important part is a role play. The children relive the worst parts of their past as a game, a war game. The rebels, the Ugandan army, and the civilians. The rebels attack the civilians. They abduct children and women. But then the army comes on the plan and the bitter fight begins. The creation of future plans is an important part of the integration of those young people. They are asked about their career aspirations.
Andi mai kadah gangkwan, atami katio kwan, a bed nas. Manua rama kanyo dan makom gilet red, kidong kitu kenani.
I'm never been president. Ka uber president mo ko tatane, jo matime lobo, no pakonyo pakero dan lobo.
They are given a chance to choose what they want to do. There are those young ones who are going to primary schools. We give them a chance to choose to go back to primary schools. There are those ones whose age now may not allow them to go to primary school. They are being taken to vocational training institutions.
So as well in his school, where some of the children who came from the rehabilitation center are now trained. talked to a girl who lived in the bush for 3 years.
What I'm thinking is education is the key to life. By saying, for instance, we are now here because the time we came here, we were not knowing anything. We were not even thinking we are going to catch up what our teachers are teaching us with. But now I'm proud and we are proud that we can do something, and when we go back home, we can be able to make something for our own futures.
We visit the Unity College in Lira district. This institute is also a boarding school. Students who come from far away are accommodated and taken care of. The maintaining of this different school infrastructure, as well as the effort to supply the daily food demands, puts an additional pressure on the school leaders.
UGAPRIVI should come and design programs, the curriculum, in conjunction with National Curriculum Development Center, which is based in Kampala, in collaboration with Uganda National Examination Boards, in order to harmonize standards all over the vocational institutions. We also feel that there should be a curriculum review to enrich with other programs that would meet different demands from the community.
The urban bias might draw job seekers to the city, hoping for better chances. But unemployment is a major economic impediment for the capital, Kampala. However, the city offers opportunities besides the widespread occupations trained all over the country. We meet Father Rudy, who is the director of a youth center in Kampala and the regional representative of UGAPRIVI.
Kampala, being the center of Uganda, of course, has many more opportunities to offer training, and also is able to offer a variety of technical trainings, like, for instance, training as medical assistants for people who can run hospitals up country and little dispensaries and clinics. We also have a center of training for the dumb in Kampala, where young men and women from all over Uganda come and use whatever talents they have.
And giving these people a chance is that more important, as disability in Uganda still faces discrimination.
And when it comes to maybe taking children to school, they take the normal ones to school, leaving these ones behind. And that has been a major problem, the deaf people have suffered from. Hence, they don't get educated, they don't go for, learning skills, and they become useless in society.
Since the German development aid has one of its main focuses on vocational training in Uganda, the German contribution through KfW and GTZ covers only part of the total project. UGAPRIVI does not have significant funding at its disposal. For this reason, financial cooperation with the private sector and donor organizations is desired. The estimated total budget for 2005 sums up to Euro 510,000. This includes the cost for personal secondment through DED as well as for running costs and services. Therefore is available Euro 400,000 in total, composed of 385,000 by DED and 15,000 by GTZ. hence revealing a financial gap of euro 110,000. DED asks for funding for covering the gap and supporting the association UGAPRIVI so that they can go on with their efficient and very useful work.
Youth are the future of Uganda. In building up the nation, the work of the youth in whatever form is most essential. And the way we train young people today determines the service they can give to this country.